Hey guys, it's your boy Sundown. This is gonna be my One Punch Man Chapter 118 review. It's been a while. I've been in two podcasts since I last released a One Punch Man chapter. So apologies for that. But let's get right into this one because this one was bad ass, and I think there's a lot to talk about here. It's not gonna be a long review simply because I've done the podcast on it with Grim, Satsuki, the rest of the guys, Matt. Actually, Matt might not have been in this one. I don't think Zonin, Kishin, Prime. But yeah, definitely go check that out on Grim's channel. It should be called the One Punch Man podcast. If you haven't already invested your time into it, do that because it's pretty damn good. I must say it. But yeah, let's get straight down into this chapter. So it starts off with Nyan evading Drive Knight in his chariot form, and his chariot form, I think they might, I think it might have been translated as Lance in the chapter prior to this, so 117. But in 118, the translator makes mention of the fact that it should be translated as chariot, and it makes more sense as chariot because you look at it, it's a freaking motorbike, and it looks awesome. Like, this is straight out of like Batman meets some sort of like gothic English shit, and they've changed it into Drive Knight in this amazingly Batmobile-ish looking motorcycle. It looks amazing. Like, I can't really describe it beyond that. I love the fact that the wheels are obviously huge. Drive Knight himself is very, very low in comparison to like he's almost in line with the wheels rather than being like anywhere above it. So he has a very low center of gravity, and he has like these three spires coming out, covering the back wheel almost, and it just looks insane. Nyan is impressed by this, and he's like, yeah, it might be worth playing with this guy for a bit. Drive Knight's there just driving circles around him. And I thought, okay, like, why is the guy driving circles? Very quickly, Nyan realizes, as we do, oh shit, it's poison gas that he's, out of his exhaust, that he's emitting poison gas, and obviously that's insane. But it shows how much utility Drive Knight has. I mean, he's not just someone who's gonna change form and then beat the shit out of you on with just either a speed-based form or a strength-based form, or maybe like a hybrid form or something like that. It's not like Luffy in the sense of this is gear second, this is gear third, this is gear fourth. It's much more like it's so much more creative in the sense of he has a form, but within that form he'll have certain abilities, like he'll have some sort of gas power, some sort of acid power, some sort of tracking ability, sensing heat, all that type of stuff. He's really, this chapter was really impressive in terms of what Drive Knight's capabilities are. Anyway, Nyan covers his nose and his face, and then he dips underground in a crack, and he tries to, this is the part that I was just like, wow, like, he's really gonna do this. Nyan actually tries to escape. He's like, I can't predict what this guy is gonna do next. There isn't much for me to gain from fighting him. I'm gonna retreat for now. I was like, what? This guy, like, all he does is retreat. I understand retreating from Puri Puri. He's got some sort of PTSD from his last owner, or his only owner, to be fair. Who knows? But he seriously tries to escape from Drive Knight. I'm like, you're an ass hat. You're an ass cat. Anyway, Nyan then feels something on his cheek. It burns him, and he jumps back out of the crack. He jumps out of the crack, and his face has been burnt away slightly, and he realizes it's acid. So you see once again Drive Knight here showing his utility, and this is another part of his utility actually. After Nyan has been burnt slightly by the acid, Drive Knight explains, it's a specially made dissolving liquid. The thinner the body, the faster it dissolves. I think, isn't that the case with most acids? Like, the thinner the body, the faster it dissolves. I don't know, man. I don't know. And he says it's just like a thin cellophane being absorbed by water. I feel like that part was a little bit confusing. I'm not too sure exactly what it was talking about. Was it talking about the thinner the body of liquid, the faster it dissolves, or the thinner the body of whatever it's affecting? I don't know. Anyway, from the side of his motorcycle, he then fires these homing missiles. Once again, very, very utilitous, if that's a word. Highly utilitive, if that's a word. Anyway, we then see Nyan actually put in some work. He dodges these homing missiles, and I actually think this was a really solid drawing here, where we see the homing missiles kind of try to gather around Nyan, but they hit something completely missing Nyan because he's so fast. And Nyan just looks amazing in his kind of liquid form, where he's just evading these attacks, showing his speed actually. And this was something that was also very impressive, how quickly he actually homed in on Drive Knight, and how quickly he was able to get in and attack and almost damage Drive Knight. But then once again showing how impressive he is. And you have Nyan here actually chatting some shit. He's like, do you think the only thing I can do is dodge? And then proceeds to do the one thing not do the one thing he should have done, which was dodge. He gets a hoof to the face. This is Nyan, and I love the fact that we see his jaw clamped together so hard that his teeth are exposed. But essentially what we see here is Drive Knight undergoes a tactical transformation into his Knight form, but he undergoes it so quickly that in the space of time that Nyan's hand is literally probably about 30 centimeters away from Drive Knight's one eye, he's able to transform into the Knight and kick Nyan in the face with a back hoof, by the way. He's able to do that all very, very quickly with zero essentially time, very, very little time to convert to transform. And I think a lot of this might be to do, I didn't mention this on the podcast, but a lot of this might be to do with the fact that, Drive Knight might have just been purely anticipating it. So he might have been prepared. There might be some, like, essentially some of that cooldown period where he's transforming might have been nullified a bit by the fact that he was anticipating a transformation. But the fact that he did it nonetheless is still quite impressive. So it turns out the gas was an anesthetic, and it didn't really work on Nyan, mostly because he didn't breathe it in too much. We then see another transformation. This chapter was his Transformers Deluxe, called Flying Chariot, where Drive Knight looks a lot like Meta Knight here from the Kirby universe, and it's essentially he just gets these jet engines on the back of him, essentially with spoilers and essentially wings to navigate through the air more effectively, and this allows him to propel into the air at high speed, allowing him to gain ground on the body who he just launched into the sky. He then undergoes another transformation while midair into a mode called Bishop. Now this is very obviously his powerhouse form: thick legs, a thicker midriff, huge gigantic arms with essentially gigantic ass fists with knuckle dusters on them. This is his power form, his strength form, and it's the only form here, to be fair, apart from the last form we see, which is a different color. I think it might be a silver or a white color. It's got spikes on his shoulders, but I'm not sure why it has that color. Why is it that this form in particular, besides the other forms we see, why is it that this form was it lacks that black luster that Drive Knight has usually? Is there something different about this form that required a color change, or was it just so happened to be like that? Anyway, he pummels Nyan straight into the ground here, but Nyan takes the hit and then somehow flashes away and disappears into the ground, into the armor, sorry, of Drive Knight's Bishop form. And what I was impressed by here as well is the fact that from within the Bishop form, Nyan uses one of his attacks called Feline Retribution. It seems to be the only attack he ever uses, to be fair. He uses that within Drive Knight's Bishop form, and it doesn't actually break apart the Bishop form. Whatever Drive Knight's box is made out of is so dense, is so strong that all he does is essentially dispel his Bishop form, allowing the box to break apart around him, and then he reforms it without any real damage having happened or having occurred to the box or to the armor that Drive Knight tends to wear around him. Anyway, I love the fact that Nyan seemed relatively unhurt at this point as well. He just stands up and he's like, you know what, you reverted to your original form. I let the perfect opportunity for victory slip away, i.e. he could have killed Drive Knight there if he'd attacked maybe the right area. But then his face here, where his veins are popping out, his jugular and everything is just right underneath his skin, and he's just pulsating with hatred. You can see it in his face. You can't even see his pupils actually. But then he undergoes a little bit of a transformation here as well. I feel like Nyan's spiked shoulders here enlarging a little bit. I'm not too sure if that's official or if that's just an observation on my part. But what does it lengthen for sure are his fingernails. they lengthen at least to like 5 to 10 times the size. And he's like, I've decided on the method of your execution. Drive Knight says the same thing. He's like, yeah, I've decided in your execution, tactical transformation, gold. And I think the translator for this actually mentioned, it was either at the end of this chapter or the next chapter, that Drive Knight's transformations tend to revolve around the shogi pieces. I'm not very familiar with shogi, so if someone is in the comments, let me know if that's a thing. I assume it is. The translator seems to be on point. Anyway, Nyan then releases his attack. He cuts up the buildings around him. He hits Drive Knight straight on. But Drive Knight here is in his in his gold transformation, and it looks sick. It looks awesome. He's there. He tanks the attack, and I thought, oh my god, is this like a super defensive? Is this a super defensive armor? Because it doesn't. You know, when someone goes, I'm going to execute you, the first form they take isn't going to be their super defensive armor. You know. So I thought, okay, maybe this is his like Snake Man kind of thing. It's offensive, but it has that Gear 4 kind of, you know, natural defensive capability in the sense of, you know, his muscle can deflate around attacks. But the one thing everyone noticed was the fact that tactical transformation gold looked incredibly like Boros. Take from that what you will. Whether Drive Knight, he analyzes his foes and then he takes from them, a bit like Kirby actually, whether he kind of analyzes his foes in the sense ingests their data and then takes on their characteristics, takes on their appearance, takes on their powers maybe, or maybe as close to their powers as he can get with technology. That's what it looks like. His armor looks absolutely insane. He's got these lasers just flying out of his shoulders, of his traps, of his chest, going through his clavicles. He looks absolutely amazing. He's got Super Saiyan white hair, I think, and his pupil has been elongated in his visor. He just looks absolutely insane. This is most likely, well, for me, it was probably the best panel of the chapter. Anyway, we see how powerful Nyan's attack was with all the buildings and stuff collapsing due to his razor sharp attack. And Nyan's there making empty threats like, I will enter your body through your mouth and your eyes. I will tear your body apart from the inside out. He's Irish, apparently. And Drive Knight's just there completely unfazed by this. What he actually concentrates on is any of the debris that's falling. He gets rid of that and he disallows it from hitting himself. We then get another feline retribution attack from underground. Nyan using the rubble to cover himself, and then what's the saw called? Is it a hacksaw? No, it's not a hacksaw. It's, you know, one of those circular blades. It just goes across the rubble on the ground and it hits Drive Knight straight on. Once again, he tanks the blow as if it's nothing. Sorry if you can hear noise. It's my neighbor. But yeah. So this is where I was talking about the fact that Drive Knight can even detect life forms. I assume some sort of heat signature. And he's there following where his technology is anticipating, where not even anticipating, where his technology is reading Nyan under the rubble, and he attacks in this area. We see Sekengal trying to run away. Don't really care about that. But what happens in this situation is Nyan from within the rubble enters Drive Knight's tactical transformation gold again, and he's there kind of taunting Drive Knight all the way through. He's like, some folks never learn. He's there slapping him around the back of the head and stuff like that, and he's just there, you can see, chilling in the technology world almost. I'm not sure how Nyan like managed to go to the minute level, and he's actually inside the wiring by the looks of things, if that's how you imagine the inside of like a chipset to be or something like that. I'm not sure, but Nyan's there just saying, you know what, your overpowered armor, your strength, your speed, it's all utterly worthless when I'm inside you. And then what I liked here is like, now it's time to unleash feline retribution upon your body, me. And I was like, oh shit. And then you see what Drive Knight was, what he'd anticipated, because he had anticipated this, and what his answer to that was. Very, very strategic move, very sensible move, very smart move. You can see steam essentially and smoke. It would be a combination of both. Absolutely kind of just like funneling around Drive Knight at this point. His armor is glowing with heat, and that's what this armor's capability is. That's what its power is. He's able to you know, he has a temporary increase in basic attributes. So that's strength, defense, attack, speed, all that type of stuff. But the true ability of his tactical transformation gold is heat, and I'm not sure why gold would equate with heat, seeing as gold I think has a low heat capacity. I think someone's gonna rinse me for that. I'm not sure if it does now. I know gold is soft, but I'm not sure if that makes it, if that means it necessarily has a low boiling point or heat capacity. To be fair, it is used in wiring, right? I don't know. Someone correct me on that. I think I'm wrong. Anyway, Nian flies out of the armor. You can see already his skin incredibly burnt, incredibly darkened because of the heat of Drive Knight and the heat that he's emitting. Anyway, once he's actually out of Drive Knight's system, Drive Knight does something really clever here. He does a kind of combo transformation. His arm goes into tactical transformation silver, which is his awesome laser blade kind of thing, even though the laser isn't around it at this point, while the rest of him is still in tactical transformation gold. And this was something I raised in the podcast, where it seems he's able to combine some tactical transformations, or maybe all of them. So maybe his initial transformation into tactical transformation knight from his chariot form, maybe what he did was he initially just changed his backside so that he could hoof Nian in the face, and then what we saw was his full transformation. Anyway, Drive Knight's here, very kind of cynical, very cold. He's like, no matter how good you are, you can't escape being skewered. Then we just see a huge plumage of flame erupt into the sky, nowhere near as large as Child Emperor's laser cannon thing from Brave Giant, but just a very destructive looking, a very hot looking plumage of flame that totally deep fries Nian. Drive Knight walks out of the flames holding the only way you can describe it is the completely ashen corpse of Nian. He just walks out holding him from the skin of his chest, saying, "Corpse of level dragon monster Nian has been obtained." So that's the chapter in its entirety. Drive Knight was a complete badass in this chapter. He absolutely bodied a dragon level executive in Nian. I mean, like, let's be real. Nian doesn't seem to be the most powerful executive in the form, in the sense that he didn't seem to have a necessary another transformation. He didn't seem to have any real attack beyond, you know, his evasive maneuver where he kind of goes into that jelly form, into that liquid form almost. He didn't really have an attack beyond like feline retribution, and I think there was the upper level of feline retribution. I thought, what was it called? Divine feline retribution or some shit? I forgot what it was called. But beyond that, he didn't really impress me so much. Nian, that is. But Drive Knight, all of his transformations, his readiness to completely body Nian, and his willingness to completely body the guy from this chapter was amazing. What we'll come on to over probably Friday and the weekend is my analysis of and my review of chapter 119, where we get to see a bit more from Drive Knight, and we get to unearth that maybe he's not someone that we want to trust. I mean, he might be cool and shit, but Drive Knight is suspicious as all shit. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.